friends, welcome back to the Christian Moms Café. I'm so glad you're here today, and truly, I just want you to take a second and settle in. And I hope that you poured yourself a cup of something warm, like some coffee or tea, or even just a quiet moment, if that's all you could grab. Because today we're sitting down together for a very honest and very real conversation about something that I think every single mom faces at some point, which is rediscovering yourself. And in our last episode, we talked about letting go of our children as they begin to step into their own lives. And if you've been in that space, you know it's not just one moment, it's 1,000 little moments. Watching them drive away for the first time and seeing them make decisions without asking you, sending them off to college, hearing their opinions deepen and shift, and sometimes even differ from your own. And while we're doing all that letting go, something else quietly rises to the surface. It's a question that doesn't shout, but whispers, "Who am I now?" Because for so long, we've known exactly who we are. We're mom. We're the scheduler, the teacher, the nurturer, the one holding everything together. And then one day, the pace changes and the needs begin to shift. The noise gets quiet, and we're left standing in a space that feels both freeing and unfamiliar. And whether you're in the thick of young motherhood, where your days are full of diapers and snacks and school pickups and exhaustion, or you're in midlife like me, navigating a quieter home and a different rhythm, or somewhere in between, this question comes for all of us at some point. And today I want to talk about that. So it's not from a place of pressure, but I want to talk about this from a place of grace. How do we reclaim our identity in this season? How do we reconnect with who we are beyond motherhood without guilt and without striving? And just with God gently guiding every single step. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll start by just telling the truth, because it's so easy to define yourself by your children. Their schedules become your schedule. Their needs become your priority. Their accomplishments feel like your accomplishments. And their struggles weigh on your heart, just like your own struggles. And for a long time, that feels right. It feels purposeful and meaningful. And that was my life for almost 2 decades. When my daughters were little, my world revolved around homeschooling and being a stay-at-home mom, work-at-home mom. And every single day had a rhythm to it. There were lessons, there was reading practice and math practice and piano practice and all the conversations and character building moments. I was fully immersed in this role of being a mom. And honestly, I loved it. That's why I chose it. I wanted to be this involved, and I wanted to give up the opportunity to build a career outside of home so that I could focus on my kids. It was a risk that I took, but I chose that. And I loved being present. I loved shaping those early years of their lives and watching their little personalities unfold and grow. There's something sacred about that season. But here's what no one really prepares you for. That season doesn't last forever, right? And when it begins to shift, it can feel abrupt, even if you saw it coming. My oldest daughter graduated college and moved away and stepped into her career. My youngest is right on the edge of that same transition, going to prom, learning to drive, preparing for college, building out her own life. And now I find myself in this in-between space. So the house is getting quieter as, again, my youngest is about to head out, and the calendar isn't packed in the same way it used to be, except, I still have some school drop off and pickups, and I still have, all the school stuff right now, but I know that this is changing. And when summer arrives, once she's graduated, my role will feel very different. And so in that quiet, that question starts to show up again, like, who am I outside of motherhood? Now, if you're a younger mom listening, your version of the struggle might look completely different. And maybe your identity doesn't feel lost because your kids are leaving. It might feel lost because you've given everything to this season and you wake up and immediately start taking care of everyone else. You go to bed exhausted, wondering where you fit into the day. You love your children deeply, but somewhere in the background, there's this quiet longing of, I miss me. And then there's that guilt that tries to follow the thought of you're missing yourself. But let me say this clearly, that missing yourself doesn't make you ungrateful. It just makes you human. And if you're in midlife like me, your struggle might be wrapped in something else, like a strange mix of both pride and grief. You're proud of who your children are becoming. You're grateful you've made it through those intense years, but there's also a sense of loss that's hard to name because the role that once defined your everyday is no longer needed in the same way. And nobody really talks about how disorienting that can feel. So what does rediscovery actually look like? Well, for me, it hasn't been some big dramatic reinvention. It's been quieter than that, more layered and intentional. I didn't wake up one day and say, okay, I'm a whole new person now. No, it's actually been more like gently remembering who I've always been and giving myself permission to bring that person forward again. For example, my music. Singing has always been a part of my life, and it's not just something I do, it's something that grounds me. But during my busiest years of homeschooling, it naturally took a back seat, not because I didn't love singing, but because there were only so many hours in the day. And now I've made space for it again. And it's not even about being perfect or performance. It's about connection and joy and remembering that I have a voice, literally and figuratively. And so songwriting, music, and piano is now becoming a bigger part of my life. And I'm just loving this part of my journey. And then there's podcasting, like stepping back into the space with Christian Moms Café and Soul Podcasting Collective. It's been deeply meaningful for me. And it's allowed me to use my voice in a different way to build, to lead and create and connect. I didn't realize how much I need this until I keep coming back to it. And of course, I've been podcasting for 20 years, so I've been doing this for a while, but it has more meaning for me now because I am doing this more often, and it's kind of helping to take up that space, when kids begin leaving home. Okay, motherhood uses so many of your gifts, but not always all of them. And sometimes rediscovery is about asking what parts of me have been quiet that are ready to speak again. Another thing I've started doing more of is vlogging about midlife transitions. And let me tell you, that has been stretching in the best kind of way because it's vulnerable and reflective, and it forces me to speak and to articulate what I'm experiencing in real time. So if you want to check that out, my channel is called Mom Zest, and that is where I'm starting to post more about midlife. So you're welcome to visit that channel. Link is in the show notes. But this has also been about healing because I know I'm not the only one walking through this. And then something very simple and powerful that I'm doing right now is reading, getting back to books I love, or at least attempting to discover what I love because I don't know what that is anymore since I haven't been reading a lot of books in the past 20 years. So I'm getting back into that and just learning to sit in a quiet space and let my mind wander, reflect, and grow. It reminds me that I'm still evolving, I'm still learning, and I'm still becoming. And of course, there is my piano studio. Now, teaching all over again, but in a different way, has been such a beautiful full circle moment for me. It allows me to pour into others and into their children while also nurturing something deeply personal within myself. So all of these pieces, these aren't random. I believe these are all reflections of who I am, who I'm becoming, and what God has in store for me. And what I've realized is that as we're all figuring out our steps and being guided by God, of course, our identity doesn't disappear in motherhood. It just gets layered and stretched. And some things get put on pause in certain areas for a specific time, but it's still there. It's waiting on you to arrive to the point at which you can wake it up again, waiting for you to come back to it. So let's talk about what this actually means for you, because I don't want this to just be a reflective episode. I want it to be helpful for you. I want you to be able to take something away from having listened to me go on and on for the past couple of minutes. So some truths that have really grounded me in this season is that your identity is not tied to your children's needs. Yes, motherhood is a part of you. It's a beautiful, significant part, but it's not the whole of you. You're still a woman with thoughts and gifts and creativity and desires and purpose outside of what you give to other people. You have purpose inside of you, and that matters. Secondly, rediscovery requires intention. It doesn't just happen. You don't magically wake up feeling like yourself again, the way you felt 20 years ago. You have to create space for that. Even if it's small, even if it's just 15 minutes, those moments matter a lot more than you think. And thirdly, it's okay for this to unfold slowly because we live in a world that pushes all these quick transformations. But this kind of work is sacred work, it's soul work, and it takes time. You're not behind, you're not late, and you're not too early. You're just where you need to be. You're becoming who you need to be. Fourthly, let your faith lead you. This has been the anchor for me all these years. Instead of asking, who should I be at this moment right now? I've started asking God, who are you calling me to be in this season? Because again, every season is different, right? And that question will shift everything, and it removes the pressure from you. It invites peace and opens the door for purpose. Fifthly, you do need community in this. You were never meant to navigate these transitions all alone. Talking to other women, hearing their stories, sharing your own story, that kind of community brings clarity and comfort, and sometimes the exact encouragement you didn't even know that you needed. So we need community, some kind of way, whether it's local or it's virtual, but we need some type of community. So let's make this real and actionable for us. If you're listening, you're thinking, okay, where do I even start? Here's a few ways you can begin. You could revisit something that you used to love, not for being productive, but just out of joy. What did you used to do that you no longer do that would be kind of fun? Like, think back on those things, whether you enjoyed playing some type of instrument or whether you used to read books and magazines, spend time at a cafe or coffee shop alone, or meet up with friends. What did you used to do that you are no longer doing, that you used to really enjoy, that brought life to you? And then you could also create a small daily rhythm that just belongs to only you. And we all have routines already in place, but I'm speaking more in terms of rhythms that bring you joy, that you haven't been able to do or haven't found the time or created the time to do. And I should say carved out the time to do, because we can't really create time. It's just what it is. But, carving out that special time to do something that only is for you and no one else. That's, I think, really important as we get older and as we start to understand that life is super transitional, always evolving, and never stays the same from year to year. We always have to just roll with whatever life brings our way. And so in the midst of all of this transition and changing, we have to find something that anchors us. And that could be some daily rhythms that have to do with our faith, or that have to do with other things outside of our faith, right? It's not always just faith-based, but what are some things that we're doing that we truly enjoy? Little things, just small routines that make us happy. And you have to decide what that is for you. And then try something new without putting pressure on the outcome. Give yourself permission to do things that you've never done before. And don't worry about what that outcome has to be. Maybe reach out to other women and have an honest conversation with them. It could be going to therapy to figure out how to clarify cobwebs in your mind from your past and helping you to work through issues that you didn't even know you had. It could be spending quiet time in prayer and reflection and asking God to reveal to you what's next in your life. There's all kinds of things you can do to begin all over again, but you don't need a full life overhaul. You just need a starting point. And friends, I want to take a moment to extend an invitation to you, not just to sit and listen, but to step into this conversation with me. If you're a mom in transition, rediscovering your identity, or exploring your passions, I would love to hear your story. Over at the Christian Women Podcasters Network on School, I've built a community specifically for women of faith who are passionate about podcasting, and it's a free membership, a space to hang out, fellowship with other podcasters, share experiences, and just feel understood. So if you're just starting out, there's an option to upgrade where you can learn more about podcasting and getting started, growing your show. Perfect for beginners who want a little guidance and encouragement along the way. So that is my Podcasters Network. But over here at Christian Moms Café, which was originally Christian Homeschool Moms, this network has grown grown and evolved over the past 14 years. And one of my greatest joys is giving back to moms of faith. So I love to support small businesses, guiding women who are starting their podcasting journey, connecting traffic and visibility to their work. And for larger businesses or companies, I do have sponsorship packages available. But for moms who are aligned with this message and just willing to jump on a conversation, I always find ways to give back and support you. So one of my passions and really part of my mission here is helping moms build their business, share their voice, and flourish creatively and spiritually. And we've also got a few interviews coming down the pipeline soon. That will happen. Real conversations with moms just like you, talking about life and faith and motherhood, career, business, all the things. And if you are interested in having a casual heart-to-heart mom chat with me on the show, there is an application link in the show notes. I love creating space for women to share their experiences, reflect, and inspire other moms navigating similar seasons. Because your story matters and it can really encourage someone else in ways that you may never know. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's remember that rediscovering yourself doesn't mean leaving motherhood behind. It's about leaning into the fullness of who God created you to be right now in this season, slowly, intentionally, and with grace. Take a little time this week to reflect on what have I set aside that I want to return to? And then ask yourself, what brings me joy just for me? And where is God gently inviting me to the next step? Pour yourself something warm and take a deep breath, my friend. Step gently into this season of rediscovery. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. We're building out that space for you at Christian Moms Café and, of course, the Christian Women Podcasters Network on School. And whether it's through this show or our community or any upcoming interviews, I hope that you feel supported, inspired, and celebrated for who you are. And until next time, my friends, welcome back to Christian Moms Café, where every mom belongs, every story matters, and where your voice and purpose have room to grow. Until next time.